Hey everyone, if you miss your early upgrades and find your tempo completely shot, knowing how to pilot a low tempo game state is exactly how you stabilize in high rank lobbies. In this lesson, I will break down how I manage a slow early to mid game using the newly reworked fairy synergy. Let's look at how I drag this match back from the dead. Alright, starting off with the regional carousel, I see Maril on the board, which is a small early sign pointing toward a potential baby or fairy opener. Nothing definitive, but it pushes me to choose the portal with the light symbol so I can hunt for a region where I can guarantee Cleffa. I contest it right away, but I miss the roll. The direction, however, is set. The starter choice arrives. Items are the priority here, while the unit itself is just a tiebreaker if you are on the fence. I pick up Chorkal here because it offers highly flexible item paths down the line. Since I missed Cleffa region, that ideal baby opener is looking rough. I won first PvE and get seed for some defensive utility. Then the shop gives me Igglybuff. That's huge because it's an uncommon unit and easily the hardest piece to naturally hit for this composition. I've got a Maril and Caterpie pairs sitting on my bench as solid backup platforms, but to squeeze out every bit of early echo, I put Swinub and Nidoran on the board to activate Ground 2 and start digging. Component draft time. I could have grabbed Nevermelt Ice to immediately complete a Shalbell with my Chorkal, but I wanted to keep my options open, so I took the Magnet instead. This round activates the newly reworked Fairy Synergy, giving me my first wand selection. The choice are Lifesteal on Fairy damage, double attack buffs on crits, or PP regeneration. I go with Crit Wand. Crit multipliers scale way more predictable because they rely on how you itemize rather than pure RNG. Finding a crit set is now my absolute priority. To hit my 10 gold interest milestone, I stop rolling, clear my bench and only keep the Maril pair. The post-round drop luckily hands me a second magnet. I absolutely need black glasses for that crit set, and luckily I grabbed them completely uncontested on the carousel. Heading into the first actual PvP round, my board looks pretty mediocre. Igglybuff is doing what it can as the AD carry, but with 0 evolutions, no level ups and incomplete items, I'm not winning this. I make a conscious decision to lean into a heavy loss streak to maximize my early economy. Defeat is exactly what I expected here, but I still want the fights to be closer so I can mitigate unnecessary HP loss. My opponent pushes an insane tempo with 3 evolutions and rolls over my board, but the eco setup is secure. The item pick shows a fossil, but I pass on it to focus entirely on my front line and that crit set. Since I already have a Razor Claw, the Chorkal loses its value. I take a Miracle Seed instead to build King's Rock. I need that immediate early game spike to compensate for a really weak front line. I roll once just to force something, hitting a Jigglypuff pair and a Hantena for some tankiness. I toss the King's Rock onto a temporary unit, liquidate the rest of my bench to keep my 20 gold interest intact, and buy a Pichu from the shop to activate Fairy 4. Hitting Fairy 4 triggers a rushed wand choice, Confusion, Paralysis or Sleep. I log into Paralysis wand way too fast here. Looking back at the data, that was a bad call. The Confusion wand gives a -3 special defense debuff which offers way more raw combat value than a minor 10 speed reduction. I match against a brutal bruiser fighting setup and take a massive loss without securing a single kill. On the bright side, Baby Tree is active now, meaning that losses are directly cooking my long-term egg farming value. I wanted to absolutely guarantee my loss streak stayed alive for that Baby Tree value, so I actually went ahead and intentionally weakened my board. Honestly, the total miscalculation. If I had just taken 2 seconds to scout the lobby, I would have seen my board was already naturally the weakest. I ended up bleeding a ton of unnecessary HP to a single early game carry without taking down a single unit. Don't do this, always scout. I finally do the scouting to see where the rest of the lobby is at. I missed the high roll on the egg, which means the loss streak has to keep running. Even without Fairy 4 active, I managed to take down 2 enemy units. Much better, I am finally mitigating my round-to-round HP loss. Still hunting for that crit set, I managed to draft a second set of black glasses of an Anima. The lobby is playing at an incredibly fast pace right now. I've already lost 34 HP just in the early game, but I finally get my egg. It hatches into a froggy. It's a relatively average egg Pokemon, so there's no pressure to force it onto the board unless I happen to high roll a Fairy Stone later. I am sitting on a really healthy gold reserve facing the Gyarados PvE round. Level up and set up a specific positioning matrix to counter this boss. I still don't have natural evolutions, so I roll a couple of times to fish for pairs. To guarantee I actually win this and stabilize, I finally commit my resources to craft my core items. I clear the stage easily and pick up a seed. Portal phase arrives, and I successfully aim for the fairy portal. The game offers me Azelf as my unique choice. Azelf is a perfect mechanical fit here. Its ability scales raw attack power, which has insane synergy with my crit set, and its typing sets me up for a future psychic tree breakpoint. I take it instantly, move my core items over to it, and tweak my positioning. With 0 evolutions on the board, I roll down slightly below 50 gold and just trying to find some quality, delaying level 6 by a turn to save 4 gold. I hit a fighting comp and my massive flaw is instantly exposed. I have 0 frontline. Azel can solo carry if the enemy runs it down immediately. I drop hard to 57 HP. The item draft gives me a hard scale. I grab it to beef up the frontline while keeping a potential Fairy Stone option open for a Froakie. I push level 6 aggressively here to get Fairy 6 online and see my next wand. The choice are Pounce, Guiding or 2-edge wand. I take Pounce wand for the 30% damage reflect on crits to give my frontline some offensive bite. Though Guiding wand probably would given me a better backline sniping. Finally, the shop rewards my patience. I hit Jigglypuff, Marie and Togepi upgrades. Togepi is a great long-term access to normal synergy shields. I keep rolling below 50 gold to match the lobby's tempo. The board still feels a bit fragile, but is getting there. The item carousel rolls around and there is a loaded dice. This is the ultimate multiplier for a fairy comp because our wands heavily rely on status trigger percentages. I spent 10 gold to lock it down, completing a massive item spike for Azel. The shop throws me a Pikachu, which is an amazing mid-game bridge unit. Now, with my health dropping below 50, I make a pretty expensive, not optimal play. I burn a Ditto just to force a Hantena evolution. I need 2 upgrades frontline tanks immediately to survive. I craft a muscle band, put my miracle seed on Pikachu and pray it's enough to stop the bleeding. I face a poison comp and the investment completely pays off. Pikachu and my loaded dice Azelf absolutely rewrite the combat map. First clean win of the game. Froakie hatches and honestly does nothing, but my economy is comfortably sitting back at 50 gold. With 4 evolutions online and my synergies locked in the mid-game, engine is officially offline. I run into a rematch against a comp that beat me early. This time, totally turn around. Pikachu and my loaded dice Azelf completely dictate the pace, another dominant win. Facing the Mew Mewtwo PvE round, I pre-level to get ready for level 7. I breeze through this stage, grab Nevermelt Ice from the components and combine it with my seed to complete a max revive. My frontline puzzle is permanently solved. I push level 7 right away, sacrificing my interest streak because I wanted to protect my remaining health. I swap out Togepi for Abra just for the raw corner to corner damage output. I match against a top tier opponent running a highly optimized unique carry. It hurts, I take a heavy loss, leaving me at a dangerous 35 HP. Sitting at level 7, I roll down hard again to look for upgrades, finally hitting Mr. Mime. At this point I am literally just a Togepi upgrade away from a fully stabilized board. I hit an electric comp. Pikachu tries his best, but Azelf's damage gets completely split across dispersed targets. Another loss, I am down to 24 HP. It looks like a classic 6 or 7 place exit, but right here the match hits its absolute turning point. My luck completely flips. On a literal 1% probability modifier, I high roll Porygon. This is a massive because it lets me instantly activate normal 3 synergy. Looking back at it, prioritizing normal 3 should have been my immediate goal the second I hit level 7. Delaying this synergy was a mechanical slip up that cost me a ton of valuable effective health in those previous rounds. For the item components, I drop a Miracle Seed to keep a Fossil Stone combo alive and keep patching up my main weakness, the frontline. I also grab routes for my dual Fairy Psychic Core. I roll down heavily to 30 gold, hit Cleffa and sell off Mari to clean up the board and lock in normal 3. The synergy instantly gives me an extra item component, making me craft options way wider. I face a fighting team, and since their unique pick has 0 items, my new setup absolutely shreds them. Clean win. I've got a silk scarf sitting on the bench, so my ideal target is a spoon to craft a luck scaling item. I decide to grid the component and hold off on crafting for a bit. Then the shop absolutely high rolls a second Porygon and a Ditto. I instantly burn the Ditto to evolve Porygon 2. Look, I am only 1 round away from legendary picks, but I cannot afford to be greedy here, and 24 HP, 1 bad round means I'm dead. Stabilizing my immediate board power right now buys me an essential extra life cushion. I face a grass comp. Pikachu disrupts their backline, Azelf scales perfectly behind my tanks with loaded dice, and Porygon 2 cleans up with great secondary DPS. Azelf breaks 1000 damage, another hard fought win. The shop gives me Tinkatink for a late game scaling, which is great because Pikachu is starting to fall off. I put Unknown on the board purely to abuse its 5 gold income mechanic. I micro adjust my positioning to make sure Azelf completely dodges the PvE Lugia's ability cone. The PvE round is an easy clear. I secure the 5 gold bonus, but I miss out on the spoon drop. I hit the portal phase, aim for the fairy portal, and the game hands me Magearna, absolutely premium legendary frontline tank with a high impact ability. It fits my comp seamlessly, lets me transfer items easily and pairs with Porygon to activate Artificial 2. I immediately prioritize it, itemizing my legendary to abuse its high base stats. Putting defensive item on my main tanks, I face an amorphous comp, and since their Regieleki has no items, Azelf and Porygon 2 just dismantle them. Now I'm playing my path to level 8 to fit in Happiny. I tweak my layout to protect Azelf and get the absolute max shield distribution from my normal synergy. I face a low tier opponent. The fight was incredibly close, but Magearna's max revive keeps my frontline alive just long enough for Azelf to clean up. I squeeze out a narrow win. The Spinda carousel show ups. My main goal was Wonderbox, but due to a bit of input lag, I accidentally click and draft heavy duty boots. Honestly, even with the misclick, the item provides some seriously underrated defensive value. I still haven't found Happiny, so I go ahead and push level 8 anyway and put in my temporary normal fairy unit to maximize my shields. Cleffa keeps the artificial item as my sacrificial lamp. I pick up a Tinkatink upgrade and roll aggressively down to 20 gold. I hit an electric comp. Thanks to my completed frontline, my carries don't get touched, turning a historically awful matchup into a clean win. Level 9 is completely out of the question now. Every single gold piece is going into rolling for board upgrades. The aggressive roll down completely hit its marks. I found Tinkataf, finally locked down Happiny, and upgrade Hantena to tier 3, all at the same time. My frontline problem is officially solved. Facing another electric player, the fight is neck and neck, but Azelf's massive uptime lets me pierce their carries and protect my health pool. Another win. During the legendary Birds PvE round, I had to decide, do I keep Porygon 2 or do I bench it to activate Fairy 8? Since Porygon 2 doesn't have raw items multipliers, getting raw trait scaling for my 2 main carries through Fairy 8 is mathematically way better. Fairy 8 triggers my final wand selection: Escape Teleportation, Attack Piercing to the backline, or Whirlwind for cleaner CC. I picked the Whirlwind wand. Looking back, the Pierce option would have scaled infinitely better with Azelf's hypercarry items. I get 3 defensive items to pick from. I selected Green Orb for Happiny. Combined with our massive shield generation, Green Orb allows Happiny to safely generate PP over extended combats. I positioned her centrally to maximize the item uptime. I face a grass composition carrying a late game Floragato. Ranged grass carries drop off massively in his phase of the game. I secure 7th consecutive victory. I find a Ditto and Chansey in the shop. At this point, every single unit on my board has evolved at least once. Digging for tier 3 upgrades here requires an insane amount of gold for a tiny statistical chance, so I stop rolling entirely and stack economy to push level 9. Hitting 9 lets me put Porygon 2 back in and reactive artificial, and generates a free ghost item. I steamroll an amorphous comp, with all 3 of my frontline tanks surviving the round. On the carousel, I pick up heavy duty boots for Chansey to boost her ability power and max out our team-wide shields. I hold my gold, sitting just short of level 9. I am officially locked into the top 3. Now I face my final boss, the hyper-scaled electric artificial player who dominates the early game. Their Regieleki is fully itemized. In a super tight trade phase, my superior frontline utility barely edges them out, keeping my win streak alive. Facing the PvE round, scouting is mandatory. Knowing my remaining opponent is hard locked into Electric Artificial, the goal is to hit level 9 next turn. The PvE boss drops a Pokédoll for Chansey, giving her a massive 30% damage reduction and a taunt mechanics. Perfect. I push level 9, drop Porygon 2 back onto the board and complete the exact endgame matrix I planned out. I face the Electric Artificial team again. With my corner positioning completely shielding Azelf and Pikachu, the opponent just doesn't have the burst to break my frontline. I take my 10th win in a row. The final shop has nothing useful, so I just dump my remaining gold looking for luxury upgrades. In the final fight, the opponent doesn't change their positioning at all. Azelf easily tanks through their luxury opener, their kilowatt roll gets instantly deleted, and I clean up the board for an absolute first place finish. Navigating an incredibly fast lobby when you are sitting at critical HP is one of the most important lessons you can learn on your road to the top ranks. When the game refuses to give you early upgrades, investing that extra gold to force mid-game stability instead of just blindly rushing levels is the only way to salvage a win. If you want to master these high-level tempo adjustments and learn how to systematically reverse a losing start, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the core mechanical lessons. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe to help the channel grow, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!